Donald Trump named the official Republican nominee.
I have the incredible honor of not only being a part of the ride that's been this election process, and to watch as a small fly on the wall what my father has done in creating this movement, because it's not a campaign anymore, it's a movement. Speaking to real Americans, giving them a voice again. And it is my honor to be able to throw Donald Trump over the top in the delegate count tonight with 89 delegates and another 6 for John Kasich. Congratulations, Dad, we love you!
It's official now. Donald Trump is the Republican presidential nominee. No longer the presumptive nominee. It's official. He is the Republican nominee for President of the United States.
Wolf Blitzer of CNN, and before that, of course, Donald Trump Jr., who, Brandy, you have met.
I have. I've met Donald Trump Jr., I've met Eric, I've met Ivana, and I've met Donald. I consider myself a member of the family, pretty much.
I'm surprised you're not up there in Cleveland tonight.
Didn't ask me to speak, and I am, quite frankly, aggrieved of DubaiEye. We do have someone in the studio, though, who knows a lot more about the Republican Party than I do. Joshua Atkinson is the Dubai Director of Republicans Overseas, UAE. Joshua, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Great. It's great to be here with you this morning. Thank you.
How has the idea of a Donald Trump presidency been received by Republicans in Dubai?
By Republicans in Dubai, and I would say over in the Middle East, there have been positive reviews overall. There's been some mixed reviews as well, as you can see on the U.S. news. You've got different feedback on that. But overall, the conservative VP pick that Donald Trump has now picked has also sought to strengthen and encourage the Republicans overseas as well.
Has that sweetened the deal? Because Donald Trump's obviously been a very, very divisive figure for the Republican Party in the US. In fact, House Speaker Paul Ryan has just stood up and said, look, what do you say we unify this party, which I imagine they're out hoping the convention will do. Has he been as divisive here?
I don't know about being as divisive here, but I do know that his VP pick, Mike Pence, has, I believe, sweetened the deal within the U.S. and with Republicans overseas because he kind of balances Donald Trump. So it brings in those who would not necessarily have otherwise be brought in to support the ticket.
Let's look at some of the policies that Donald Trump is going to be pursuing. We're the business breakfast, so I'm interested in how he's going to kickstart growth and how he's going to create jobs, particularly for his, if you like, his core constituency, which is, from what we read, white, low and lower middle income men, particularly, who are either haven't had a pay rise for years or haven't been able to find a job for years. He's seen as the pro-business guy, but how can he create jobs in the Rust Belt, Joshua?
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to share a few key ways that he's going to be able to do that. One is increasing exports. This directly generates many blue-collar jobs. I'm proud to come from Wisconsin myself, and there we've got many manufacturing jobs that produce great products that are sold around the world, but many of the states don't have that. Also, with the pro-growth tax plan of the Republican Party, this will motivate SME owners to expand, which generates jobs for low to mid-income families and individuals.
And in fact, that's something, I'm going to bring in Vasti Raftopoulos here, because your brother-in-law was in the studio about 2 months ago. He owns a business in California. He's a Republican, and he says taxes is the big thing. He says taxes for businesses in the United States are prohibitive, but also labour laws. The fact that it's very, very difficult to fire anyone or have flexible labour markets in the United States is a real barrier to growth and stops him doing a lot of the investment he'd like to, didn't he?
That's 100% correct. Of course, California has one of the highest taxes, if I'm not mistaken, in America. So for small business owners, they really feel the squeeze in terms of growth, not only financially, but also in terms of their labour. So it's one of the things they're looking out for in this campaign.
So, obviously, everyone likes to hear about cutting taxes, don't they? No one doesn't like taxes being cut, but there's a downside to that, isn't there, Joshua, as well? How do you balance the books? How do you pay the bills? How do you pay for the new roads, the new bridges, the schools, and so on?
Yeah, well, cutting taxes actually spurs growth. Right now, the U.S. has the highest corporate tax rate in the world. This is prohibitive to the growth of the U.S. economy.
It's 30-odd%, is it? 33%?
And growing, yeah. I mean, there's rates that go even above that. And so what we need to do is have it at a moderate rate where the taxes come down, which will actually inspire growth, because then the businesses are going to have more money to reinvest in growing their business.
Is that going to be something that a president can do, though? One of the challenges that all presidents face is that we get this, if you like, sort of fragmented political system where you've got, a president maybe from one party, but then you've got the Senate or Congress will be from a different party. And then, of course, as we alluded to, you've got state legislature, which is very, very powerful in the United States. Whoever's elected, can they actually do anything, some of the policies that you've outlined? Can they get them through all those layers of bureaucracy?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? It's important for presidents to have a tight inner circle. What this means is that Donald Trump, what he has done is he has brought in experts from all around that are political insiders as well to bring with him, that if he's elected, that he's going to be able to move forward through the Congress, through the Senate, and through the government to get these bills passed.
Do you think he'll be elected, though? I mean, I have to just say very bluntly, how electable do you think Donald Trump is?
I think he has a serious shot. I mean, to this point, you've seen that many people were surprised that he even got on the ticket. But I really do believe that he has a serious shot at becoming elected the next president of the United States.
Is this election, though, because Hillary Clinton isn't popular with vast swaths of Americans either. A lot of people thinking, obviously, about the Clinton legacy. There's been a lot of doubts, a lot of questions thrown up, particularly over the email saga. Is this election turning into a case of just picking the candidate who is the least worst?
In some regards, it can be. But I would like to put it on a positive framework, is picking the best of the two. I mean, right now, as we've got a smaller percentage of Republicans and Democrats are behind their candidate this year than in a very long time. And something that draws the party together, the Republican Party, is that opposition to Hillary.
But there's been so many personal attacks that have come out in the campaign from Donald Trump so far. I mean, as you say, traditionally a representative is officially nominated, they get the nomination, everyone else falls behind them and unity comes first. But do you think people that have been pillarized on Twitter and in the press, such as sort of Ted lying Cruz, is going to be able to do that after taking so much personal flack?
Well, I think there's been a lot of mud throwing on both the Democratic and Republican side of things. Personally, I've seen more mud throwing from the Democrats to the Republicans than vice versa. I think the point is to move past some of the petty differences within the Republican Party and move forward, to come together and say, all right, you're either going to be voting for Trump or for Hillary, and if you're not going to be voting, well, then you're going to let the opposition win.
Do you think there's any chance we could see an October surprise, such as Mitt Romney jumping into the race sort of 6 weeks out, such as we saw with Ross Perot doing it to Bush?
I don't see that as likely. I can't say that it's not a possibility, but I don't see that as very likely.
What do you reckon we'll get out of this convention in terms of a poll bump? How many points?
As far as the points, I would leave that to politicians that are more astute than I am to put on the points. But what I do see is that this convention can help draw the Republican Party together. It can also enthuse the party. So to help them see that Donald Trump and his team have an optimistic view for the future and define strategies that are set forth in the Republican platform.
Yesterday's convention, though, was pretty much hijacked at the 11th hour by Melania Trump's speech. And the assertions that bits of it sounded very, very, very familiar to a speech that Michelle Obama gave at the Democratic Convention in 2008. How much of a problem is that? How much damage could that do?
I don't really see that as a main focal point of the convention. Although there are some things that people will need to discuss and talk about, I see the most important thing is to focus on what the Republican Party's platform is and what it wants to do for the country.
It does question, though, the people that Trump has around him. He's very fond of saying that he's got the best teams, he's got the best brains, that he's pulled in the best possible people. And yet I'm looking at a lot of pictures out of the convention, and there's a lot of empty seats during prime time at a time when you don't want empty seats. You don't want that image going out on television. Obviously, there's been a lot of speechwriters involved in Mrs. Trump's speech. I presume that some people are being ticked off quite severely behind the scenes. It'd be great to be a fly on the wall. But what does it say about the team that he's pulling together and therefore sort of the credibility of the whole Trump juggernaut?
I see what's going on right now is he's really seeking to bring through this convention to bring the different parts of the Republican Party together. And obviously with the political situation in the U.S., it's challenging right now to do that, but I really believe that he's going to be successful and his team is going to be able to pull the party together.
Joshua, really appreciate you joining us this morning to explain that to us. Joshua Atkinson is the Dubai Director of Republicans Overseas UAE. Big night for you this evening when Donald Trump makes his speech. Enjoy that. And I'm sure we'll speak to you again before Tuesday, November the 8th, when the election takes place. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for your time.